Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Peter Albaum, I'm a software engineer, and you may notice if you watched my last video, I've got a little bit of a different space going on here. I moved and I've got a new office, so looking forward to cranking out some new content for you. I wanted to do a video about side projects. You know, doing side projects is some of the most common advice you hear given to new developers, given to people that want to get hired, as a way of showing that they have the skills to be able to do the job. And I don't know about you, but I struggled for a really long time with the motivation to actually do side projects, and that's only changed recently. So I wanted to do a video about what changed my motivation for side projects. But in order to do that, I need to tell a little bit of a story, so bear with me for a second. So a few months back, I read a book called Range by David Epstein, and it is about how generalists triumph in a specialized world. And it covers a lot of different topics. It covers how diverse career experiences can combine to form fulfilling careers. It covers match quality, which is the degree to which the work you do is a good match for you. And there was a story in there about two different Nobel Prize winners, and that has to do a lot with the reason that I found motivation for side projects. So the research that's in the book about these Nobel Prize winners wasn't necessarily in the same chapter, but it stood out to me because of the way that these two scientists approach their careers. Now, the scientists are Oliver Smithies, who won the Nobel Prize in 2007 for physiology of medicine. He won for knockout mice, which you should definitely look up if you don't know what those are. But the way that he approached his career was super interesting. He did what he called Saturday morning experiments. And these were experiments or chunks of time in which he would come into the lab on Saturday and just have kind of free-ranging creative time in order to do whatever he wanted. And as the author, David Epstein, was speaking with him, he showed him all of these notebooks that he had amassed, Smithies had. Over the course of his career, he filled 150 notebooks, and he was taking Epstein through all of these notebooks and about how each of these Saturday experiments, not everyone necessarily, but a lot of them had led to significant research and significant scholarly contributions on his behalf. This happened to the degree that Smithies jokingly said people asked him why he came to work on any other day. Coincidentally, there was another scientist in the book who took a very similar approach to his career. His name is Gide. He won the 2010 Nobel Prize in Physics, and he did Friday night experiments with no relation to Smithies. It's just something he did. One article quoted the Gide Lab's definition of Friday night experiments as investigations that were considered slightly crazy. And what's crazy about it is that Friday night experiments led directly to the work that Gide was awarded the Nobel Prize for, and the Ig Nobel Prize, which is awarded for kind of the craziest or most zany research finding of the year, which he won for levitating a frog with magnets. So I think it's significant that both of these scientists, in Gide's case he stayed late, in Smithies' case he came in on Saturday, they specifically sought out this time in which they were able to do what they wanted and to scratch the creative itch, to investigate something that had been on their mind for a little while, or to just take a random shot at something. Now, you might be saying, cool story, Peter. So there's these scientists and they stay late at work to do crazy stuff and it leads to interesting research. So what's the big deal and what does that have to do with me as a developer? And good question. This is what it has to do with you as a developer and specifically your side projects. Let passion drive you. I think passion and curiosity is what ended up driving Gide and Smithies to do these Friday night, Saturday morning experiments, which in turn led them to make really great advances in their career. And the connection that that has with being a developer is that it's really easy to approach doing side projects as just something you have to do to check off a box, to put something on your portfolio so that you can prove to somebody that you deserve a job. And that's how I approached it for many years. Not coincidentally, I found it really hard to motivate myself to actually do these things because it just felt like more work. And the thing that changed that for me was, instead of approaching it as something that I just had to do in order to get hired or prove that I was worthy of being a developer, is instead of thinking about things that I wanted to exist in the world and using that side project time as an opportunity to bring those things into the world. I feel pretty strongly that if you're doing side projects simply as something to check a box, then the moment you run into something that's hard or difficult or that you don't know the answer to, or maybe an unfamiliar piece of technology, the motivation and the will to push through that isn't so great, and you'll probably end up giving up. But if you're doing side projects because you want to see an app or a site or a script exist in the world because you want to use it to solve your own problems or other people's problems or make other people's lives better, the motivation to push through those blockers and learn what you need to learn to get it done is way greater. The motivation factor for doing projects like that is incredible. And that's the connection between Smithies, Gide, and the innovative developer. Letting your curiosity drive you and building things that you want to see exist in the world is a much, much better motivation for doing side projects than simply just checking a box. Smithies and Gide could have considered Friday nights and Saturday mornings as their time that they didn't want to spend doing extra work, but I don't think they consider it to be extra work. I think they consider it to be fun. I think that says a lot about them, and I think there's a significant takeaway there for us. Yes, do side projects. Yes, put together a portfolio. But let your curiosity and your passion for building things that people will use drive that, and not simply checking a box. That's what I've found to be most helpful as I build apps and sites and projects in my spare time. And I hope that that might give you something to think about and that it's helpful. If you found this video helpful, I'm getting back on the YouTube train and I'm planning to put out much more content like this. So if you want to be aware of that, subscribe and hit the alert button down below. If you want to stay up to date with me, feel free to follow me on Twitter or dev.to or reach out directly. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.